Yeah, so it's actually it's been quite an interesting, rewarding, but also very difficult experience starting a company here in Europe. And I have to say that I really had no idea what I was getting into when I came over. But I think that
can you say just a little about your background,
yeah.
Sort of like
okay. I'm pretty young. I'm 24. I got into social networking right out of college. Started a project with a couple friends, political social network. Did that for a year and decided that I was really interested in this space. And I lived in Spain when I was 15, and I had some great friends over here, and I decided to come over and create 20. And that was about 2 years ago. And there was, I could have created 20 in the United States. I probably could have done it in a lot of places, but it was very interesting to be able to come and take ideas that I had learned in the United States and things that I'd worked in, and come to this market where there's actually a different user behavior that I think that we could take advantage of, and I think that we could actually build a better business in Spain. And so there are a few things that were really interesting in that sense, and that one of the things we liked about Europe was that there's a much different behavior by the user in terms of how they interact with the internet and how in content. And what we really liked was the mobile usage. And that we believed if you could build a successful platform here online, it would be much easier to take it to the mobile. Because in Spain, for example, people live with their phone. They're in the street, they're around, they're socializing, and they're kind of always in contact. And so, with those strong social relationships, we knew that if we were able to build a social network, it would do really well. And so, we actually started an invite-only model, which I think few people had done it, and I think it went a little bit against the kind of common current where in general with social communities, the idea is to just kind of get as big as you can, as quickly as you can, and have the kind of highest traffic possible, most usage, and then try and kind of monetize that with advertising and whatnot. We wanted to actually just really focus on what can we do to take advantage of the social behavior of people to really increase the efficiency and flow of content between people. And so we chose to do an invite-only model, and it's actually been incredibly successful. We've grown exponentially. We've actually doubled every 2 months in the last 2 years here in Spain. And that's been tricky. I have a team of 25 people, and it's actually half international, a number of Americans, and the other half is Spanish. And so what I realize is that we're actually able to, I think, do a lot of really interesting and innovative things because we have such a diversity of ideas and experiences that I don't think you'd get if you were in the States. I think one of the biggest problems is, back in the States, and I was part of this too, is that when you're in the U.S. market, it's very easy to just think about the U.S. And you think, that's a big market, there's a lot of people, and you don't think about building things that will kind of can be global. And so, we decided that, if we can kind of make something work here in this market, where it's actually pretty difficult. It's difficult to find the people, get them to come, because there's not really an infrastructure. Basically doing that and those challenges, I think, have made us a stronger company. It's been very difficult to recruit people. It's difficult to scale a company when you don't have, let's say, the co-location, the server infrastructure, all these things. But I think in the long term, those pressures force you to innovate, to stick true to your kind of long-term strategy, and I believe they actually make you a better company. I think the biggest point here is that nowadays, with the access to information and the flow of kind of how easy it is to travel around the world, I don't think you have to be in any one place to start an internet company. I think that you can do it anywhere. I think Europeans can come to the States, and I think they can bring a lot of their ideas there and be successful. And I think likewise Americans can come here and do really well. And I think at the end of the day, it's that kind of cross-pollination of experiences in these different markets that actually kind of create some of the more innovative concepts. And so that's kind of, I think, the biggest issue, I think, in the long term is that what we need to do is transplant kind of the general expectation of kind of an entrepreneurial culture from the U.S. to Europe. And that's something I've seen in Spain, is that, you know, there's brilliant people here. I feel so fortunate because I'm tapped into a market where, you know, there aren't that many companies that are really trying to, you know, innovate and create something that hasn't been done before. Just because, in general, you know, there's just not the way, you know, people aren't pushed to say, okay, well, just go get funding and start a company and do it. It's kind of a different structure where, you know, larger companies, you know, build all the big websites and have the traffic, and there's not option structures to incentivize employees, and so these are all things that I think. I hope that 20 actually can be an example to other entrepreneurs, right? Both in the States and everywhere, that A, you don't need to be in any one place like Silicon Valley to build a big company, and B, you know, I hope that, you know, Spanish people and Europeans can be inspired by kind of, you know, international people coming together wherever it is, you know, Madrid, Paris, Prague, it can be anywhere, and building, you know, bringing kind of lots of ideas together and building something that can be a big company. So that's kind of, you know, that's my take on it. So I don't know if anyone